people don't really understand it until you actually see it coming at you in a wall of flame. It's like fireballs in the air that explode, cars blowing up before the fire even gets near. It's unprecedented.
The flames are burning hotter, the water's rising higher, and everybody's mind is at war. And we just keep praying someone will come and save us. But we are who we've been praying for. Yeah, 'cause no one's gonna save us but ourselves. And no one's gonna save us. No one's gonna save us. No one's gonna save us but ourselves. The food on your table, the ice in your drink. Every little thing, everything comes with a price. The linens on your bed, it's every little thread. But don't think about it too much so that you can sleep tonight. Yeah, 'cause no one's gonna save us but ourselves. No one's gonna save us. No one's gonna save us. No one's gonna save us but ourselves. So let's form an assembly line, one spirit to another. Gotta put out the fire. Let's form an assembly line, one spirit to another. Gotta put out the fire, fire, fire. Form an assembly line, one spirit to another. Gotta put out the fire, fire, fire. Form an assembly line, one spirit to another. Gotta put out the fire, fire, fire. Form an assembly line, one spirit to another. It's on fire. Gotta put out the fire, fire, fire. In a symphony, one spirit to another. It's not a fire. Gotta put out the fire, fire, fire. Form an assembly line, one spirit to another. Gotta put out the fire, fire, fire. Form an assembly line, one spirit to another. It's on fire. Gotta put out the fire, fire, fire. Forms in the fire. It's on fire, fire. Our house is on fire. It's on fire.
We're seeing air quality at the worst it's ever been. I mean, if this isn't what climate change looks like, then God help us when it does hit us.
Amen. For those who like or need to keep their hands busy while they're listening to people talk, we've got some watercolor stations set up on the east and the north and the west side of the sanctuary. Kids, if you want to make some art while I talk, you're welcome to do that, and anyone else as well. The season began for us with drought severe enough that some of the trees started turning color in June. We carried water to keep young trees alive. And as the days lengthened to the height of summer, wildfire smoke began drifting down to Missouri from Canada. We heard stories of catastrophic flash flooding in New Jersey and Vermont. 100-mile-an-hour straight wind storms knocked out power in my hometown of Tulsa for more than a week. And as rain finally came to Missouri, it brought intense humidity with it. And we saw some of those destructive storms here as well. I drove past a house with a tree crunched on top of it for a solid week. And all the while it has been hot. And the water in the Gulf Coast is 100 degrees. And since when are there hurricanes in Southern California? Since last week, it seems. And then, my God, the fire in Maui. The cost of it in life and ancient landscape. The whole community is watering a giant banyan tree now, working to keep its heartwood alive under its charred exterior, even as they grieve their missing and their dead. And if that isn't an entire sermon in itself. How can we hold a water ceremony without holding all of this? How can we be a church without holding all of this? How can we be without holding all of this together with one another's help? I'm no historian, though I often wonder what it is like to be one in such inarguably historic times. But I am a person who thinks of my life in eras, and whether it becomes known as such to historians, this summer will always be, for me, the summer climate change got really real. And when things get really real, sometimes we have to let go of the stories we were carrying about them. And maybe this is the summer I let go of the story that someone is coming to save us, or that one person or movement alone could fix it, or that it could even be fixed, so much as lived through with resilience and a commitment to care for one another, to do what we can, to live the love that fixes nothing but saves everything. Maybe this is the summer we remember what Violet just sang to us, that no one's going to save us but ourselves. That we are the ones to save us. Not any one of us, but all of us together. That we save us only through community that shows up for each other's survival. For years, there's been a gospel song that our UU siblings of color particularly have sung at their annual Finding Our Way Home conference. These UU religious professionals who lead us in so many powerful ways have been singing the truth of this chorus. I pray for you, you pray for me, I love you, I need you to survive. And one of my favorite things about that line, I need you to survive, is that it is equally true in at least two different ways. The first is, I need you to survive, as in I need you. In order to survive, my survival requires your help. And the second is, I need you to survive. Our collective survival means that I need each one of you particularly, each and every one of you to survive in order for our community to be whole. And it means I need each creature and tree and plant and watershed to survive. This morning we have regathered ourselves for another church year by mingling waters and blessing them to hold each other's joys and sorrows. And this is symbolic, but it is also, like climate change, really real. We are holding each other. We are co-creating a community that needs each other to survive. We are living together into the truth that cannot be avoided any longer, that all of us need all of us to make it. And that it will be work to make it. And it will be work to leave no one behind. And that we have what we need to do that work because we have each other. We are living into the truth that no one is coming to save us, but that together we save us. Community, connected, reaching out, loving each other, and loving the world in material ways was the only thing that was ever going to save us. And it's still available to us with every time we gather and every breath we draw. In his weekly Substack newsletter, climate expert Bill McKibben recently wrote an article called "Where Should I Live?" In it, he shared the questions he gets after his climate talks, not the super prepared and impressive ones from the general microphone, but the quiet ones at the back of the room as everyone picks up their bags and filters towards the door. Questions that break his heart. Questions like, is it okay for me to have kids, given what we know? And where will it be safe for me and my loved ones to live? It's this latter question he responds to in his article, where will it be safe for us to live? And his answer is stark, nowhere in and of itself. Things are hard and hot everywhere and will be. But his answer is also hopeful. We can make survival possible for each other almost anywhere, even still, even now. It is not a location that will make us safe in this era. It is community. It is each other. He tells about the response he saw to catastrophic flooding in his home state of Vermont last month, neighbors showing up to scrub mold from each other's houses, a farmer driving his backhoe around to dig out debris, even the feasting that helped people connect as they worked. And he told about a nature center offering that still went on to observe the beauty of the world even in the wake of receding floodwaters. And he said, maybe this is what we need now. Neighborliness and backhoes and a reminder of how beautiful the world still is. And he shares how he feels this in Vermont, but he also tells us this is not an argument to move to Vermont. Instead, he writes, it is an argument to get to work building the kind of social trust that he witnessed in as many places as possible because we're going to need it. He comments, we've come through 75 years where having neighbors was essentially optional. If you had a credit card, you could get everything you needed to survive dropped off at your front door. But he continues, the next 75 years aren't going to be like that. We're going to need to return to the basic human experience of relying on the people around you. We're going to have to sing it and meet it. I need you to survive. And the way we prepare to do that, the way we simply do that, is by being reliable in material ways to real flesh and blood community. And letting ourselves, as much as we are able, rely on that same community. The season has been hard and the world is getting hotter, but there is good news. We need each other to survive, and here we know it. We know it. This year's worship arc at UUCC is all about how we move together well through precarious times, otherwise known as these times. And this year we will practice showing up for each other willingly, joyfully, collectively, tenderly, bravely, curiously, and more. We'll be starting up a new monthly program to build climate resilience by building community and acquiring skills to help each other survive. We're going to play games together once a month at an all-ages accessible game night. We're going to meet in small groups and nourish spiritual practice. We're going to nurture our kids together. We're going to honor our elders together. We're going to move our bodies together and sing together. We're going to sit together and remember how gorgeous this world is. We're going to show up for the funeral and celebrate the birth and bring each other food. And this is how we save us. We don't always do all of it as well as we could, and I hope we grow this year as a community of care, as a community that knows we need each other to survive. So I invite you to think deeply today about how you can show up for community this year as an act of hope and agency and power from deep within in the face of all that is. Because when we encounter all that is uncertain and overheated and hard, we rise by showing up. We rise by holding each other. We rise because we are in community, needing each other to survive, and we know it. I'd like to invite you to join your voices with this beloved community in singing a song of resolve and commitment created for the climate movement by Rabbi Shoshana Mira Friedman. The tide is rising, and so are we. This is where we are called to be. The music is in the insert in your order of service on the back of the announcements. And please note the additional verses at the top of the music because we are going to sing them all. I invite you to rise or remain seated as you are most comfortable and join your voices in being the community that saves us.
The tide is rising, and so are we. The tide is rising, and so are we. The tide is rising, and so are we. This is where we are called to be. This is where we are called to be. The task is mighty, and so are we. The task is mighty, and so are we. The task is mighty, and so are we. This is where we are called to be. This is where we are called to be. The land is holy. Land is holy. Is ready. Tide is rising. One more time. Tide is